Hello, AOLL 507 class. This is Samantha Parrott, and I am here interviewing Virginia Pellegrini. And so we will go ahead and get started with our questions. So Virginia, what is your current role in advancement and fundraising?
I'm Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations for Boise State University. I've been there for 5 years.
Awesome. And then what is your background in fundraising?
Okay, so if this is a U of I class, I'm at Boise State now, have been for 6 years. Before that, I had the same position, Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations at University of Idaho. I'm legal, I've got degrees at both places. And then before that, I was Vice President of Development for United Way here in the Treasure Valley. So my entire career, although by accident, is in fundraising.
Awesome. That is great, and we love that you're a vandal. My second question is, what role do you think technology currently plays in fundraising?
So this is kind of an interesting subject for me because I'm old as mud, and when I started my career, there was not even the internet or iPhones or email. So we were just barely getting on computers. So when you look at the first part of my career where data was, what technology did was allow for communication. It allowed for data to come in from the financial standpoint so that we could keep accurate records and have faster communication. That moved up to, and again, it's been mainly, it started all with data. For fundraising, you have to have strategies, you have to have donor relations, so the ability to move that into CRM systems, similar to what you see in business. We've all spent some time trying to adapt things, but realized that we just needed new systems. So most people are converting to systems. So there's the one half of the technology. The other is the ability to connect with donors quickly. They are they demand more communication and very select, targeted communication, and so technology has moved with that piece of it. And then in the last 5 years, predominantly, the fundraising pieces, the actual fundraising itself has moved to technology. First, it started by sending donors to our websites if you want to make a gift online. We have secure systems. So that was the first step of that. Then we all started to move into crowdfunding, where we would do targeted campaigns. And now we're moving into the larger day of giving that take almost an entire year. And I think that is an aspect of fundraising that works for a select range of gift and a type of gift. It has to be for something that has heartstrings. It has to be something that is definitive. And the range, it's generally 0 to 1,200. You see very few online gifts that get up into the, say, even the $2,000 range. So that's where technology, I also see technology having driven down costs. So the financial back ends of nonprofit work and of fundraising, training so that we don't have to go to as many, because we're a small profession. We should be growing, but we're relatively small. We all struggle with costs. So not having to take people to conferences, instead having webinars that come into you allows the same flexibility that universities are giving to their students, and we're driving down costs because it's no longer place-based.
Awesome. Do you envision any future technological advances that will help you in the fundraising industry?
Oh, I think some of the trends will continue. So when I was talking about data and that sort of thing, I think moving into what technology can give us as far as analytics and helping us strategize more, that will all continue at the same time that I think that it will continue to decrease our costs, because the faster we can move in our conversations with people with targeted information, the more successful we are and the faster we are at work. So I think that that's always a very important piece. The other is, I think with technology, there's an increased transparency because we've used technology and social media to put our marketing message out there. And before there was that, there was either mail, which people have no patience for paper anymore, or you had to go see them. And so we were starting the conversation, the education piece of that, to move up to, say, a major gift with face-to-face conversations. Now, if we can, through social media, give them information, we still have to have those conversations, but we're a step ahead of where we used to be because they have pre-information and they can go to our sites in order to get that initial information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. So in our text that we're reading for the class, The Future of the Professions, the authors discuss the possibility of some of professions like law and accounting being replaced by technology. Do you think that fundraising professionals will be replaced by technology in the future? What's your opinion on that?
I don't. I think it's going to change. It will continue to change the skill needs of development people, those who are doing the fundraising, because they're going to have to be adapt to social media and technology and be able to learn as you go. Again, and that will get somewhat easier because the farther we get, the more we have birth technologists instead of me who has always had to adapt. And so it's always been harder for me as an oldie to adapt than, say, even you, Sam, that you've always grown up with the things that I didn't have to have and get used to. So a fundraising professional is always going to have technology background and know how to use it to their advantage. But I don't think that it's going to replace, because there's two sides of fundraising. There's the science part of it, if you will, and there's the art. And the art is the human. And we would have to get to, and who knows, we could, I guess, get to the point of artificial intelligence where you're putting in the data and determining what a donor's outcome may be by the inputs. But as far as I can see, I don't see technology completely taking over because there is an emotion to fundraising after the facts that solidify it, and I still see peer-to-peer as being a part of that. Technology will take over most of annual giving, and so most of annual giving and the smaller gifts, the human needs will be more and more back-ended, but for the major gifts, which some organizations call 10,000 or more, others 20,000 or more. I do believe that there'll always be a human element in it, or if it goes out, I will have long retired.
Thank you. And I agree with you, because with the information that we have, you can put in those inputs, but they might not always be right. Your data might not be correct. So having that human interaction to go get the story of the donor is important. Do you think that there are current areas of your position and your job that could be replaced by technology, and if so, what do you think those are?
Not replaced, again, aided.
Okay.
And I have one story that I tell anybody that I do any training. I had just moved into higher education fundraising. I went to see the Paul Allen Foundation, which is a well-known foundation in Seattle. I thought I had done all my research about what I thought that they would be interested in at the University of Idaho. I even had some history of things that they had done with the University of Idaho before. We had perfect programs for what their focuses were. I put together information. I had prepared both the data and the narrative. Walked in, started a meeting with the program officer. We weren't 5 minutes into the conversation before I closed up my packet of information and knew that we still had things that were of value, to them, and that they did end up funding for the University of Idaho when I went up there. I think this was like 2008. But it had nothing to do with what I had prepared using technology and data to put together for them. And so that's the human side of it. That's the thinking side. And again, until we get to the far end of artificial intelligence, I don't see it happening.
Great. Well, thank you again, Virginia,
You're
so
welcome.
much for letting us do the interview today.
Great.